Hi everyone, it's Bridget and Taylor McLendon from Huntsville, Alabama. How are you today?
Am lovely. How are you today?
Very good, thank you. You had a happy 4th
Good,
of July
good.
weekend?
We did have a happy 4th of July. Did you have a good Canada Day?
Well, yes, I did. I mean, I don't go out for crowds or anything, so for me it was quite quiet, which I like. But
Nothing
it was
wrong. Nothing
apparently
wrong.
very well attended. Yeah, people had their elbows up, and
Yay.
it was good. I hear that some people had some issues with some fireworks. You guys didn't have
We
any
did
issues.
not,
You were on your boat.
we're the elderly. We go early in the morning. We were out from 10 to 5, and wrapped it up before all the drunks got on the lake. So,
Right.
right, six Ricky Bobbies converted their pontoon boat to a floating firework barge, and it went down in flames. I mean, it was just like Bon Jovi said, it was quite a mess. They were all, I think, mildly injured as well. So,
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
drunks
Yeah.
and fireworks don't mix usually, You
I was
just,
gonna say alcohol was involved,
that's
right?
right. You need supervision for these kind of things or leave it to the
hmm
professionals. Just go to New York
hmm
and watch Macy do their thing. And
I
it's
have to
safer.
confess, I don't like fireworks because for one thing, they upset the dogs and the cats, and
It's
they
true.
also
It is
are
true.
difficult for wildlife. So I'm like, this is my little bleeding heart right there speaking. I do like the artistry of it,
It's
but
beautiful.
then some people do shows with drones instead of fireworks, and some of those are really spectacular. And why not have that with some music instead of fireworks? I mean, I think the time has come to
It was
switch off
probably
especially the
above.
backyard kind.
Right. This was above the pay grade of Lake Martin. That's down there
Ah,
by Auburn, Alabama, where the other
huh.
university is. So I'm gonna come off the drones. We might not be that sophisticated down
They
there.
start crashing in midair. You have this
Right.
dragon thing, and it crashes into something else.
I
Ah,
don't know
all
that
kinds of
Auburn's
mayhem.
engineering program is what it should be. But anyway,
Yeah.
it
So
was
for
closer to
next year,
Auburn.
right. So I want to get back to Auburn in a minute because there's something there that I want to nerd out about. But before that, so this was America's 249th birthday.
We're getting
Um,
old.
Yeah, so there's some talk about having a UFC Ultimate Fighting Championship fight on the grounds of the White House to celebrate the 250th. And some people are comparing this to Idiocracy, the movie, which I was just completely by coincidence rewatching this week anyway to kind of get me in the mood for like the current state of affairs in America,
It's true.
including congratulating y'all on your brand new One Big Beautiful Bill. You share
It's
that with 400 million of your fellows, but
That's yeah, like yikes. But thank you nonetheless. We've got it until we can do something about it, which is just kind of wow.
I know, which is interesting. I was hearing a Republican pollster talk to Kara Swisher on her podcast, On with Kara Swisher. Just free plug for her. She doesn't need me to plug her show. She's awesome. But she was talking to a Republican pollster who talked about how, most of the people, like that's roughly half the voters who don't like Donald Trump in America, like by and large, it's half of them who don't like the one big beautiful bill because whatever, it's a Trump thing. We don't like it. Done, right? And but among
Well,
the people who support him, there's probably about that was this pollster's. There's a significant proportion of the Trump voters who also don't like it for one reason or another. Like either it spends too much or creates more debt, or Medicaid cuts to Medicaid and stuff like that. So this is not a super popular bill.
no, it's not a super popular bill, and it's just like one big dump truck catch-all. We're cutting from all this to fund all this, and it's just kind of all over the board. I think once you get down to the meat and potatoes of it, like anybody can read the
Mm,
whole thing. We need Chat GPT to give us the synopsis, but it's funding the Space Force and the Army. Since we're turning
mm,
250, I guess we get new toys, but it just cuts from so many places. It's a little scary, but
hmm
it's what we're gonna live with. We're not as I guess civilized as the rest of the world with the I can't think of the word the healthcare the
hmm
like you have, and ours is
Yeah,
privatized. When y'all
universal.
have,
Yes.
that's the word I needed. Thank you.
hmm Universal
You
health care.
it's
That's right.
cutting the lower end healthcare here. It's cutting the um, the private programs, like the insurance
Right.
that I use, because I'm retired, so you don't have a workplace to get insurance through. So it's going
So
to be
that's the
tricky.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be
Sorry, just to
tricky.
for Canadians who may not be familiar with the American, like clearly the American system, it varies from state to state, but by and large, I think you correct me if I'm wrong, but most Americans get their health care through their employer or
You
their pension
best.
fund if
Right.
they're retired, or if they're over 65, then it catches on
Then you
like
can get the Medicaid, right, which we're cutting.
Medicaid catch. Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Which is the one that you're cutting. Um, and there are aspects of the one big beautiful bill where
But
it
we're going to have
imposes
wrestling,
different different workplace requirements for some people who just continue to qualify for their health care. Will have to fill out some, and some of the commentary that I've read about this suggests that sometimes for some people that paperwork will prove to be one barrier too many, and they may wind up losing their health care, their coverage,
Absolutely.
because they haven't filled out the right paperwork in the right ways. And if you thought Obamacare was complicated enough, like watch until this starts
This
to
comes through.
affect people in the lower, people who may not have a high school diploma, people who may be functionally illiterate, people who read at sixth grade level,
Right.
who currently have healthcare covered by the public dollar, suddenly may find that their healthcare disappears on them.
It's
And
cut.
that's a little tough to take. Like I
Right.
get that you can want to prevent people from defrauding the system or abusing the system.
Mhm.
That's a fair thing to
Right.
want, but
Reform is one
yeah,
word, but cutting it all
right.
off is another one. And then once it's cut off, thinking down the road, once they get insurance again, is it pre-existing? What the
Right.
insurance will cover, and it just it goes from bad to worse.
Yeah.
I get it going forward. Like if it has to be reformed, but if people are own it now, if they're getting that support now, and it's fair and equitable, then cutting it out, it's just kind of crazy to me. But we'll
Yeah.
we'll
And
see. I'll
speaking of
keep you updated.
okay, speaking of wrestling, there's a new party that's going to be founded by Elon. Did you hear about this? I think
The
he's calling it the
girls,
American Party. The girls are still
the girls
fighting.
are still fighting,
They're
y'all.
back to
It
fighting.
is right. Oh
But
yeah.
there's this new American Party, and I haven't looked into the detail of the thing. And I'll joke about this until we go very old. I get the point. Like the Republican Party, you can caricature that one as the party of like, let's blow everything up and give money to the guys who are already very rich. And the Democratic Party tends to be like, if you're not pure enough to be with us, then you're against us. And in the middle, where most people are trying to have some values, some fiscal sanity, but also a heart, there's
Right.
nothing for them.
No,
There's nothing for these people.
and you had the independent ticket here, but it was always just the cast off votes. It was just uh, the party spoilers. Like you're not going to win when on an independent ticket. You're just taking votes away from the two bigger
Right,
ones. And
right.
hell, you get a choice of which is the less of the evil here. But I think it would be good to have more than two. I believe y'all
Hmm.
have more than two.
Yeah, we
England
do.
has more
Yeah.
than two. I
Hmm.
mean, let's have a little variety. It's the spice of life.
And I
Like
also like the proportional ballots so that you can rank. So my first choice is this person. My second
hey,
choice is that person. Da, da,
big.
da, da, da. We have
Hmm.
computers now, right? So we can actually tabulate all this
Yeah,
and
not in the
come up with
South.
with
Yeah.
winners. I'm sure you do somewhere. I've seen them. And you can that way you can have a better sense that when you do vote, that you can rank your favorites or your least unfavorites, whatever, however you want to see it.
Fair.
But then you feel like your vote has more of it matters a little more.
It
Um,
does.
because if nobody is a clear winner, and in most cases, there's really very few races where like there's one winner by a mile and everybody else is way behind. So it becomes more competitive. And so I think that there's a lot to be said for electoral reform. And I don't think Elon's going to try that. I think Elon's just going to go all out and get himself maybe not broke because he's got a long way to go to get broke. But
Well,
somebody was
yeah.
saying, let's just not say anything until he spends hundreds of millions of dollars to become the right wing's Jill Stein or somebody who was she was the wasn't she the independent party? person, Jill Stein. Anyway,
Yeah, I don't know.
maybe that's getting a little obscure for you, but even I'm a nerd. Did I say that?
Sorry, I don't know.
That's okay. But like one of those inconsequential kind of candidate, like the Ross Perot, people will remember him from way back in the,
Right?
oh, which election that was? It was between George W. Bush and the other guy. At some point, Ross Perot came in on a libertarian kind of ticket and kind of
He
stole
was the
votes
best
away
cartoon
from.
ever.
He
He's
was, yeah, it was
and
kind of cute.
Bernie Sanders is the new Ross Perot. I feel like
Right. And I like, I mean, it's interesting that young people love Bernie Sanders. Not all of
yeah,
them, but like there's
but
there's a
yeah,
huge following
he has a
among young
popularity.
people. Yeah, I think because he's just authentic. Like him or hate
Right?
him, he
And
is who he is, and he's not changing who he is for nothing.
and it's another option that they feel like they're listening.
Right. And it's like he
It's
doesn't give
not.
a shit about anything, and he's just accept his ideas and the reforms that he thinks are necessary, and he just goes out and campaigns for those. And it's like, thank you.
Let's make it better instead of about war or Jesus. Like what you got to pick one.
Yeah, war with Jesus. Yeah. Ooh,
Yeah,
what a
that's how we
choice.
do it.
Hey,
Right. Well, that's how we go in the South, right?
Jesus is never too far. There was I did like that I mean, we talked about the protest against Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I did like the person with the sign that said Jesus would think that you're a fake Christian. Yeah.
Yes, and Jesus
Yeah,
was holding
Jesus
it. I love the
says.
Jesus costume.
Yeah,
It
we
was a
so
good
you guys have
time.
the Jesus costume. You also have the one from the La Servante Écarlate. Jesus, why can't I think of the
I
English
don't
title? The
understand that.
Margaret
Yeah.
Atwood's novel, the Handmaid's Tale
Yes, the
costume.
handmaiden.
Yes, like in the TV
She,
show and walking
she
around with their
makes the
signs.
rounds through
This,
Huntsville at all the different
yes,
protests. Yep.
that's right. I have a couple
Hmm.
of pictures of her at different protests, so that's fun. Hey, I said I wanted to nerd out about Auburn.
Yes,
And
let's
so
do
Auburn,
it.
I've never actually been to Auburn, but it was
Hmm.
in the news this week because I know I have to go and see it because apparently it's going to be getting a pedestrian scramble. And I love pedestrian scrambles. Now, for those of you who are not as nerd as I am, it's a very simple idea. So you have a street corner, right? It would only, well,
Right?
it can work with 5 or 6 different, but say you have it like across a street corner. So the scramble is like one cycle out of the light cycle is all the traffic lanes stop and pedestrians or anybody else who's not in a vehicle can go. Anyway, this way, that way, or diagonally. You can even dance in the middle if you feel like it. You
I
have like
like
30,
this.
35
Yes.
seconds or what have you. It's a full cycle
Do
and
your
it's
thing.
just the street is yours. This intersection is yours. I grew up in Quebec City. We have those in
Okay.
Quebec
I've
City
never
all over
seen
the
one.
place. To me, they're completely normal. And I took my
Mm.
teenager at some point to Quebec City, and they were like, "What are you doing, Mom? You're going diagonally across the street." But that's fine. It's just
That's,
it's anyway. So
that's
Auburn
what
is
we do
getting
when we
apparently a
see a
scramble.
roundabout. Yes. We can't even do a
Is it freak
roundabout.
out?
Don't give us anything new, like we don't have the first one
No.
mastered.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing this scramble, and it's an inexpensive thing to implement. You just have to mess
Yeah.
with the electronics. You program it differently, and people just have to get used to it. And then you'll find that it works very well. And I hope that it spreads everywhere, like a good kind of virus. And I'm going to be down there next time, and I hope that it's implemented. I'm going to go and check it out, and then do my little bit of proselytizing for pedestrian scrambles. Plus, I think
There
the
you
name is
go.
awesome.
See, yeah, there's some good restaurants in Auburn, though. My
Yeah.
girlfriend was down there and a couple of them. So I might be down to make the trip for a good restaurant.
Ooh, okay.
Right.
And we
We'll
do
check out the
pedestrian
scramble.
scrambles
Right.
and restaurants. That's
That's right.
perfect.
We
Tell
could
me
come
about
live from
the.
Auburn. That would be great.
How far is it from Huntsville?
Oh, probably 3.5, 4 hours.
Okay,
It's
I'm
a
up
little
for it. I can do
trek.
that. Yeah,
We
it's
don't have
fine. It's a
trains
day
here, yeah,
trip. It's
but
fun.
yeah.
Yeah. No, there's no trains anywhere. It's just disappointing.
It's a
Tell me
Greyhound
about
and
the
they're dirty.
heist. Yeah.
Oh,
What
yes.
happened?
Apparently, we have us a sneaky little ninja in Low Mill. And this is just according to the guy that was here. He stepped out in the hall about a little before 3 in the morning because he heard a noise and looks up, and across the top of the wall, there's a man dressed as a ninja coming towards him. And it was a fight or flight situation, and he flew with his phone, locked his studio, and went outside to call the police. Well, in the 6 minutes between the call and the police coming in the building, he's snatching everything up in the mail, like art from this room, running across the roof, jumping through our studio into the next studio, dropping art along the way. And there's just very few actual photos of this person in the mail. He got away, left all the art on the roof, but it was like an old school heist. I mean, he brought his game like he was going into the Louvre. He knew the layout, he knew where cameras were, and it's just kind of wild what's going on in West Huntsville while we're sleeping. We've got art
And you have
ninjas.
right, and I was going to say like this. I mean, I love Lome, as you know, it's one of my favorite places in the world. But it's not Le Louvre. Like, there's nothing there that's worth $16 million, right?
Absolutely. Like,
I love y'all, but like the art that you find there is unique, but
right.
not especially. It's not the kind of stuff you can sell on
That
the
you're
black
gonna
market.
that's right. Like, he ran by tools and um, tablets and computers, and who knows what they were thinking or if they were thinking. It was 3 in the morning, so
I hope they catch him.
it's going to be a hard one, but I'll keep you updated there. We'll see. it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
um it's kind of the running joke here at the mill right now. So we're going to have a Ninja Turtle
Mysteries.
watch party this weekend. So
You have to have
everybody can
some fun
be,
with it.
that's right, super vigilant from now on. And it is kind of scary if you're in here late at night, because the doors, they've got the super mag locks, once they shut after a certain time. So nobody's coming in from the outside. But if somebody is hidden in the building and they're in here, like, could you imagine? Like, I'm always got my headphones on and somebody coming up behind you like that late.
I'm going
That's
to teach
that.
you some self-defense just in case.
I've got my handbag. I got my self defense in a handbag. I've got a heart
I know.
condition. I can't be fighting like that. But don't sneak up on me like that. You lucky I was not the one in here at 3 in the morning, because I don't think I
Mm,
would have ran. I know I wouldn't have ran. I'm
hmm.
too fat to run. So I'm going to have to stand my ground.
Right. And you get, I mean, this is Alabama. You have,
That's
you
Alabama,
have that
right?
right.
I'm right. That's
Hmm.
fair.
Right.
So anyway, but super creepy, super
Yeah.
odd. But
Don't like it one
yeah,
bit. Plus,
yeah.
it's my favorite place. You're not allowed to do that to my
You're
favorite
right.
place.
Like, go to the
It's not
circus
okay.
and
It's bad karma.
right, go parkour somewhere else. Like, I think that's what it.
Do
Very
you think it was a
athletic
parkour?
person.
Yeah,
You have to be to hop over a wall.
I
You
guess.
know,
Yeah.
are very
If
spongy
that's
and
what they
high on
wanted to do,
drugs.
they could
Yeah,
ask for permission to do it. Like, if you wanted to use the mill for parkour, then I'm sure you could talk your way
yeah,
towards doing some of that.
something. Yeah,
You could work something out, presumably, because it's a
you
form
would
of
think.
art,
But
right? Mm,
anyway,
mm,
we had to grab some art
right.
on the way out. It's I'm no veterinarian, but I smell a little bullshit here. So we'll keep you updated on what's going on, because
Okay.
you had to
All
you had to
right.
have a good knowledge of the building. So
Yes. Mm,
it'll be an interesting tale to tell.
I can tell you it wasn't me. I have an alibi. I was here, even though
Right,
I'm
I
pretty
was in the
athletic and I
bed.
could jump
Right,
over walls,
you
but it was
could.
not
Right,
me.
I was
Promise.
snoozing.
Promise.
I'm
What else you
innocent.
doing? What you
Uh,
looking forward to this week?
we've got. I've got a haircut this week. That's a big thing.
Oh, well.
Working on some new artwork, some face sketches.
Uh-huh.
So we'll see from there.
All right.
Yes,
It's gonna be
pretty low
fun
key
to
week. Yeah.
uh-huh. Next week, yeah, next week is quiet, and then the week after that, I'm taking the kids to an amusement park. So we have a Canada's Wonderland, which is kind of like a Six Flags, but not a Six Flags. Anyway, and they have a new ride this year, and all of us here, we're all like big ride people. So
Yes,
like
I guess.
the faster, the taller, the scarier, the better. So
Yes.
this is
We'll,
what we're
we'll
doing in a
talk
couple of
before
weeks.
then, but yes, I can't wait to
Yeah,
see
yeah,
some pictures from those big roller coasters. We hadn't had any new ones in the southeast in a while, so always fun
right.
to see what somebody else has.
Yes. All right. Well, you have a great week.
All right,
I'll
you as
talk to
well,
you
love.
soon.
All right,
Okay.
bye
Bye.
bye.